All right, attention. This will be a virtual meeting of the Marinwood CSD Board of Directors. There will not be a public location for participating in this meeting. Any interested member of the public can participate telephonically or via internet by utilizing the web link or dial-in information printed on this agenda. Instructions on how to make a public comment during the meeting. At points in the meeting, when the meeting chair requests public comment, members of the public participating in the live meeting, either via internet or telephone, shall indicate their desire to speak. If participating via internet, please click the raise hand feature located within the Zoom application screen. If connected via telephone, please dial *9. All right, call to order. Can I have a call to order, please?
Sure, I'll do the roll call for you. Board President Ruggieri.
Here.
Director Case.
Here.
Director Kilkenny.
Here.
Director Oyserman.
Here.
And Director Shea.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. And then going forward, we're going to adopt the agenda. Does anyone have any changes to add to the agenda tonight? All right, no changes. All right, then the agenda is adopted, or does this need to go to public comment?
No, you can just adopt as presented.
All right, adopted as presented. Moving on to the consent calendar, we have 3 items we need to approve. One is the resolution 2022-01, making findings and confirming the need to continue conducting remote meetings via teleconference of the Board of Directors, Fire Commission, and Park and Recreation Commission. B, draft minutes of regular meeting of December 14th, 2021, and C, bills paid numbers 5976 to 6039. Do I have a motion?
I motion to adopt the consent calendar as presented.
We don't have to, I'll second it, but I just had a question. We don't have to vote first before we adopt it?
No, you'll vote.
Vote
That's just
comes
a
after.
motion.
Oh,
That's
Okay.
that's
after.
why we need a
Well,
motion.
I'll second. I'll second.
So do we have any questions or comments?
Did we figure out the 30-day rule or mark? I don't recall. That we're just doing this every board meeting, or?
That's
Yeah,
what
you
I
just
did.
do it each board meeting. The advice that I got on the whole 30-day thing is you can't have another meeting past 30 days, but if you adopt the thing after 30 days without having another meeting, you're fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. Eric, can you tell me
Sorry.
how many pop-up tents were purchased for the 1,200?
I would defer that to Luke.
Okay.
Luke, we can't hear you if you're trying to talk. Nope.
No, we can't hear you.
Tested it, working.
There you
Now
go.
there
Here
you
we
go. Yes.
Let me double check that for you, Bill.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to double check the receipt, but I can get that info for you shortly.
No worries. I'll see you next week.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, anything from the public?
Yeah, 1 second. Steven.
Yes, hi. Congratulations, Lisa, on your first day of being president. Yeah, I had a couple questions and comments. First of all, as usual, the draft minutes we produce are insufficient record of what has taken place at these meetings. I think it's important. You do important work, and why shouldn't the public have a record of what you're doing? I hope this is something that particularly the new directors would like to take a look at, because, you know, quite frankly, you're not representing anybody if no one knows what you're doing. So now, and then I do have a few questions regarding the consent calendar. I notice Luke's going to talk about this later, the Winterfest, and these bills were paid by Robin and him to vendors. And I'm wondering why we do that, why it's not paid through the central account. It seems very inefficient and, you know, possibly makes it a little harder to audit what has transpired. I saw that we paid, for example, $500 or more for the band. You know, who was in the band? Was it anyone that we know? And, you know, why are we hiring a band if we you know, we have talent, we have children's choirs, we have all kinds of other talents that could be on display at this annual festive event. And we're not a country club, we're a community. And so maybe Luke can answer about the band. I'm waiting for an answer, Luke.
Okay, is that the end of the comment?
Yeah, I just general comments. Yeah, I'd like to know how money is being spent. And I also asked that maybe a little closer accounting would be appropriate, so we understand, you know, how this money is being allocated. Is Luke going to answer, or is he going to just remain?
We're waiting for you to complete your comments.
Okay, my comments are complete.
Thank you.
I'm happy to answer any questions the board has for me. If
I don't have any questions about the band. Does anybody else have a question about the band?
I'm assuming it's things like Venmoing people that we don't have a Venmo account because for CSD and things like that are occurring. I have no problem with that as long as there's documentation, which there seems to be since it's in the bills paid.
I think his point was there might be musicians within our community who might be able to partake instead of paying somebody from an outside community or whatever. I think that was that's what I got from him, was that.
I hear that, but at the same time, all musicians are hurting for money at this point. I don't think we're going to get anybody to donate their ability to do that. And I know that there's choirs and stuff, but this was a jazz festival and we've been doing this for years. And we have various people who are available. And this is what I trust our staff, that they've reached out to the appropriate people. And I appreciate Stephen's concern and questions. And I am sure that we are trying to get local talent and people that people also want to hear.
Right. And to echo, my expectation is that we're doing our diligence in any cost allocation to find the most reasonable price. So I trust the staff in making those decisions.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on. So can I call for a vote to adopt the consent calendar, or a vote to
Sure.
approve the consent calendar?
No problem. Board President Ruggieri,
Yay.
Director Case,
I,
Director Kilkenny,
Aye.
Director Oysterman,
Aye.
and Director Shea.
I,
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to public comment, open time for items not on the agenda. Do you have any public comment?
Yeah, 1 second, please.
Well, I assume from that non-response, more information is needed. I was kind of curious whether it was Bill Hansel again, playing for the community. I don't object to Bill playing or anyone else in the community. I do think that, you know, community events should feature community people, and it's really not how much we pay them. It's the fact that they're from our community and reflect the people that are here. I'm sorry that you think that you need to go outside our community, but you know, the traditions that I've had in my family and in my community growing up, we always had holiday corrals, and you know, it was a chance to see people in action, and it's unfortunate. So 2022 is here, and the 3 new board members have a chance to reflect on what their first year meant, and as well as the 2 other members. And I ask you, did you achieve your vision? And I got to say that I have been asking on pretty regular basis for improvements to accessibility on our trails, which has been ignored. And I'm going to be very critical of Luke, who treated me so unkindly just a few minutes ago. Luke, 2 months ago, there was a request for cleaning up the trees next to the tennis courts. It took 2 months for you to clean it up. I noticed it finally got done today. And, you know, for gosh sakes, you guys, we have 3 full-time people. We have 2 managers on top of them who are directing the work, and the work is not getting done. Have you ever hired a landscaper and they left trash on your lawn for 2 months? Well, that's what our staff did, and our managerial staff did nothing about it. And quite frankly, I think there needs to be a reassessment of their managerial effectiveness starting tonight. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit angry. I always been friendly with Luke, and you know, for him to suddenly behave the way he does is really, it's upsetting to me. I have nothing more to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Are there any other public comments at this time?
No.
That's it. All right. Moving on to district matters. Park, item 1, park maintenance facility update on building construction budget and exterior courtyards.
Yep, this was requested by Director Kilkenny at the last meeting, so we put together some numbers in relation to the construction and to the contract. You can see it on the work, or on the staff report that I gave you. So I mean, we're right on track with where it is. The change orders that have been approved to date are all very minor, and none of them are cause for concern from staff. $11,000 of change orders on $1 million project at 1% is actually pretty phenomenal for a project of this nature. So I'm very pleased with that. And then we also, I listed the soft costs in there, just kind of showing the other soft costs that have been incurred that are related directly to the construction of the building as well. So as you kind of go through that, you can see where we are. We are on track. At the June meeting, the board authorized the district to enter into a financing agreement. That was 650,000. The Measure A funding, which was 380 to 400,000, is what was anticipated remaining throughout the life of those allocations. And then the remaining costs would be allocated either to the general fund or to our existing board designated reserves fund, which currently has 400,000 in it as well. We're nearing completion. We've begun preparing the RFP for the exterior courtyards that still need to go up. So hopefully we're going to be able to get that out in the coming month or so. And we're going to kind of take the same approach with the adult being the primary western courtyard that'll be going into the garage area, and then a adult for the eastern courtyard, and then some materials. So that way we have options to pick and choose from. Otherwise, if there's any questions, I try to lay it out and keep it simple, and I hope it makes sense, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
I'm just curious, Eric, in the change order, just out of curiosity, what were the fire alarm modifications?
Well, as we were finishing up the permitting, just some of the way that the fire alarm had to be configured and routed as opposed to the base model that was kind of included in the original packet. So nothing too shocking on there, but we just had to make some modifications throughout the process.
Thank you for this. And I walked by the other day.
Yeah, it's really getting good. We had our weekly meeting this morning. They were blowing the insulation in on the roof. So that part's getting done. That's the last step. Then they'll really start closing in all of the interior. The grading should be happening within the next week or so around the building. So I think by this time next month, you're going to see a largely finished building at that point. So it's coming along really nice.
I have a few questions. I have a really simple one. What's RFP?
Request for proposal.
Thank you.
You got it.
I didn't want to have to Google it. And then my other questions are, who approves the change order? And is there a minimum, maximum, whatever amount before it goes to the board?
Change orders are reviewed by staff and the project architect. We don't have a minimum or maximum threshold on these, but they've been so minor that I haven't brought them to the board so we can keep this moving forward.
Correct. That was just my thank you that it's only $11,000. It was just a question of, if it's a major one, would it be brought forward? And I'm gonna hope so. And then my next question is the soft costs. Do you anticipate, and if so, and you don't have to answer right now, what dollar amount or percentage or ballpark do you foresee for the two side courtyards and any additional costs there?
And the soft costs on this, like for preparing that, sure. I mean, the nice thing about it is the majority of the plans for that are done. So we'll just have to make some minor kind of modifications to them and then spend a little time taking what was a very large RFP and kind of scaling that down. That's kind of, we're using the one for the building as our base template and then bringing that down to meet the smaller needs on this. So yes, there will be some work involved. But in terms of, civil or special inspections or testings, no, because this isn't a building or a facility. These are, outdoor, exterior, basically some small retaining walls, some grading and some fencing.
Okay. Do you foresee, and I know you can't answer this, but do you foresee any other change orders coming down?
Yes, a
Are
couple.
we still having issues with windows?
No, there's no issue with the window. We're just waiting for them to show up. I do anticipate a couple other change orders. When they hooked up the water to the building, they had to run a pressure test. Pressure is actually running a little over 100. coming into there, and in talking to the water district, they actually informed that pressure is extremely high. So we're gonna have to put a regulator on the building to regulate the water pressure. 100 is just much too high. It should be somewhere closer to like 60. So we'll put
Wow.
so we'll put a regulator on the building so that way we can bring that down. And then if there's any pressure adjustments coming down the line in the future, ever MWD does some work, we can adjust it at the building so we can keep proper water pressure in there. And then I'm trying to remember, oh, the other one was we had them install some backing boards along the walls before they sealed it with the both the drywall and the hardy board. So that way we could install shelving units or anything and have solid backing board to put behind it, as opposed to searching for a 1 3/4 inch stud. They put 2 by 12 down the face of the building at 5 to 6 feet height and 3 to 4 feet height at
Nice.
select locations. Yeah, it was a very long-term consideration move that as we were going through one of the meetings, it just kind of hit us and said, you know, this makes a lot of sense. So we actually brought Luke and the park guys over and said, you know, what do you think? What kind of you looking? And then we said, I said, yeah, we're going to need to put that in, because once you close up, you can't do that again.
Great idea. Can I request that if there's anything that's gonna be over, I don't know, 20 grand or something like that, that you would kind of reach out? I'm just trying to, the reason why I'm saying, I know you guys had the prior board had a dollar amount that they kind of projected that this project would be. And I walked into this thinking, I know that there's fees ahead that have already been approved, but my mindset was, you know, 1.2. And because we approved the 1,080,000, that I just kind of want to keep on that track and manage it for myself.
Yeah, and I think we're well within that 0.2. And yes, I mean, my spending authority, I believe, goes up to 25,000 before I would bring it to the
Okay.
board. But yeah, I mean, you know, whatever the board wants. And the essence on some of these things, though, do require a turnaround. So it might, you know, if we get something high up like that, which I certainly do not anticipate, especially at this late stage, that we would be calling a special meeting, and I'd be asking everybody to get together quickly, so that way we don't stall the project.
Correct. I don't even think we had this conversation. I don't do construction, so I didn't think to have this conversation. So
Got it.
that's I'm just asking now.
Yeah, change orders are pretty common in any project. I mean, remodel a bathroom, you're gonna get something. So for us at 11,000 net change order, I think we're doing really good.
Oh, I do. So I'm done. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for taking the time to put this all together. I appreciate
You are welcome.
All right. Any comments from the public?
Sure, if there's no more board questions. Great, 1 second. Steven.
Yes, I appreciate the report, and I appreciate Kathleen's questions. Kathleen, I think you need to consult. I think the board bylaws just changed the ability for Eric and staff members to make financial decisions. I think it was up to 60,000. I wondered about that at the time it was approved. I think it's really excessive. I don't see how we can manage a budget if the board doesn't have oversight on some of these very large expenditures. I don't think Eric has ever come close to that, but Eric really should be able to provide you with a specific amount. I know that all of our staff members have a pretty generous spending limit where they can buy stuff on the district's behalf without board approval. And I don't think that's right. I think that's the board's purview. With regards to the specifics, hopefully it's gonna all work out. there was, I mean, it's better than what we had before as far as reporting. I am concerned because we had such high estimates for the fence that's where we've got a lot of expenses that are coming our way. And also there was a discussion of keeping those storage or the storage lockers, is not storage lockers, the cargo containers on site, which would be a no-no as far as the building code in Marin, and would also affect the drainage on the site. So there's some things to look out for here. You know, hopefully it'll go okay. It takes up a whole heck of a lot of space, and I really do want our park back. So, you know, Godspeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Moving forward, item number 2, appointment of board liaisons to Fire Commission and Park and Recreation Commission for calendar year 2022. So this is where I appoint board liaisons. I know I certainly enjoyed my year as board liaison for Park and Rec. Anyone who would like to voice an interest in either commission?
I'd be happy to jump on to Park and Rec.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. And how about Fryer?
Oh, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Do you want to keep doing it? Okay.
I do want to keep doing it.
Okay. I was gonna say, happy to go back. I miss our Tuesday meetings. Chief White.
I think I'm the favorite now.
I got them donuts. What did you get them? No, I'm joking.
Virtual donuts.
No, we did a donut event. And
No, I
we
mean
had extras
Kathleen.
to do.
Because she's never been able to be in an in-person meeting.
Yeah, so you haven't. He knows my family. No, just kidding.
Well, yeah, anyway, to bring it back.
Right.
So,
I'll take Fire.
Madam President, you have the ability to appoint, so you don't need a vote or anything like that on this.
Right.
If you know, you have 2 directors who've obviously expressed interest, one in being reappointed and one in stepping onto the PNR. Any other comment and public comment, and then you can make your appointments without having to call a formal vote.
Yep.
Madam President.
I watched the YouTube from last year at this time, so I know how it's supposed to go. Okay, so then do I point first or do I have public comment first?
Comments first.
Okay, any public comment?
Yeah, 1 second, please. Stephen.
Yeah, hi. You know, obviously, I think it's great that you guys want to serve. I would ask that each one of you who is serving to remember that you're serving the entire community, and insist that we have videotape records of these meetings. It really is just pitiful that we have to get everything secondhand, and sometimes things we have incomplete reports, and it's just so easy to do, especially with these Zoom meetings. So thank you for serving. Continue to serve. I think you guys are good people with good hearts, and I look forward to good reports on what is going on these other commissions. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, from here then, I will appoint Director Case as the board liaison to PNR and appoint Director Kilkenny as liaison to Fire. Thank you both for your service. Moving on to item 3, District manager report.
Sure, thank you. The big one here to share, and I actually notified you all via email about this when I got the news. The district was awarded a significant amount of funding specific towards special districts for COVID relief in the amount of $337,000 and $337,424. This was all due to a $100 million allocation by the state legislation that was amended into the fiscal year 21-22 budget. It was specific for special districts, largely in recognition that all the other COVID relief funding that did occur was geared towards cities and counties and did not include special districts. So through the California Special Districts Association, of whom we are a member, in their lobbying efforts, they were able to get this passed. Turnaround was incredibly quick on this. It got announced at the end of September. Applications opened up at the beginning of October and closed within 3 weeks. The measurement factor was actually kind of interesting in that what they did was they compared pre-COVID total revenue. So fiscal year 18-19 total revenue compared to fiscal year 2021 total revenue. For us, we in fiscal year 18-19, our total revenue was $469,827 greater than it was in 2021. Of that, there's 2,000 special districts in the state. I'm sure many of them applied. We were prorated our award of $337,424, which I was incredibly pleased with. I did not expect anywhere close to that amount. I can tell you, we got the second highest amount in all of Marin County from the special districts that applied, with the only higher being the Sausalito Marin City Sanitary District. The other factor in here was also direct COVID related costs, of which we did not have a whole lot of those throughout the life of this, throughout the fire department or the rec department. The big hit was our greatly reduced recreation programs. So that was where we lost a lot of total revenue. Now, keep in mind, this is not net revenue. This is total revenue. There are no formal restrictions as to how this funding can be expended. There are no requirements to submit a formal spending plan. There's no deadline by which when this has to be expended. This is the district's money to put towards any avenue the district sees fit. I'm expecting those to hit our account. It's being distributed through the county, hopefully by the end of this week. The other item that just a brief update on, this has come up at past meetings and again at the last meeting. I've been able to make a little bit of headway in the cell coverage concerns that exist primarily in Lucas Valley, part of Marinwood, through the county supervisor's office, as well as reaching out to the county OES. I certainly want to highlight Mary Sackett, who serves as a current aide to County Supervisor Damon Connolly, who's for our region. She was able to put some legwork in on this and actually contact some of the right people at the major carriers, primarily AT&T, she did get response. This has been hiked up to their engineering team. They asked, give us 4 to 6 weeks to really kind of look at and investigate, and would follow up. So as I learn more, I will find out. I'm not holding my breath that anything amazing is going to happen. It's AT&T and Verizon after all, but I'm very happy that at least there's some efforts and some awareness being put towards this. And we did the OES angle as well, simply from a public safety standpoint, and emphasizing that so many people are relying on things like Alert Marin and Nixle to receive notifications via their cell phones. And in times when power goes out, a lot of these cell phones are reliant on little transponders hooked up to the internet in their home. If they have no internet, their signal diminishes greatly. So that is moving along. Just a couple other little items of note. We're finalizing our audit. That'll be ready to be presented at the February board meeting. And then on the Park and Rec side, as you know, we've been working towards the play structure replacement project. We put out a community survey, and at this point have over 130 responses to that survey from members of the community, which is actually a really strong response rate for a survey of this nature. So we're sharing that with we'll look at that, try to analyze it to some degree, And we'll share that with the Park and Rec Commission, and then hopefully be able to finalize and come forward with some more concrete recommendations on this project moving forward. And then we'll have to get out another request for proposals, otherwise known as an RFP, to the other playground builders, and we can start to get some bids in based on some more solid and set direction and guidance that we can give them. Otherwise, that's the news. A lot of it's good this month. So any questions, I'm happy to field them.
I don't necessarily have a question, but just with the COVID money that we're getting, I think especially for the 3 newest board members, I'd propose that this is a time, and Stephen, I hope you took your heart medication. Get ready. This is a time that we need to start thinking about what is our vision for the future for utilizing that kind of money. I mean, there's some obvious things that jump to mind for me, but it would be a larger discussion. And since we're starting off a new year and have a new president and everything like that, I would just like to propose that we start thinking about making some real tactical, strategic, like we haven't had that conversation yet. And would love to promote that as we move forward.
That was very similar to, but I will present it in a question. Do we have any plans or an idea, Eric, of what we really could utilize those funds for, that don't go to, day-to-day maintenance, but, something that, like Chris says, could go towards our goal of a 2020 year?
Of the 2020.
Like
2022.
We
sorry,
you skipped
2020,
2
sorry.
years.
We all would like to provide
Sorry,
more
2022,
here,
sorry.
but
So
I
like,
don't even
is
know.
there something, I don't want to go backwards. It's 2020 money in 2022. Do you have a plan or a thought outside daily maintenance that those funds could go towards?
We haven't really discussed that even internally at a staff level. I mean, for me, our whole goal for the last 7 years has been to continue to build up our fund balance. So that way we can get into a place where we have a healthy fund balance, a healthy reserve balance, keeping in mind this is a district that up until 4 years ago, never really started to stockpile towards any level of reserves. I think having reserves are critical. And I think for me, my attitude is, my approach is always, and recommendations have been less about spend what you have and more about stockpile what you have, because lesser years are coming. It's the nature of the economy. It's cyclical. There's going to be years where we're not going to be able to have the same kind of net revenue gains. So for me, I'm always looking to continue to have a healthy fund in our general fund, healthy reserves. We don't have emergency operating reserves. We just kind of have a board designated reserve. We don't have a capital reserve. I think you still do have a large project also coming up, just to finish off the maintenance facility, not only with the courtyards, but also with the landscaping that's going to take place in that area to kind of bring that into a park-like setting. I think you have some definite concerns, and Luke has been doing his best to address a lot of these in more organic ways. But with some of the creek bank erosions, it's $337,000 is a very nice amount of money, and it's was unforeseen, so that's always welcomed. It's not a lot of money, and I don't think it goes very far, and I still don't feel that from a overall financial stature that this district is generally where it should be. I mean, we don't have a 6-month emergency reserve setup that is basically half of our annual budget, which is kind of the best practice and what is recommended. Our OPEB trust fund is growing. We have $500,000 in that point right now, but you don't have a similar trust started towards a pension trust fund that can start to pay down your pension UAL. You have large unfunded accrued liabilities. Rather than, and again, you have projects that are already committed that we need to fund and make those finish so we can realize that. So no, that's kind of a long-winded way of answering your question. I have 101 things you could do with it, but for me, I would take that money. This isn't $1 million grant that came out of nowhere. It's 337,000. So I would continue on the same path that we have been continuing on. That would be my recommendation of apply this into your general fund, start thinking about the potential of, say, a pension trust, start thinking about an emergency operating reserve, and things along those lines, because that's the mark of a financially healthy agency.
You mean we might go into a pandemic?
Well,
Emergency?
economy happens, it wasn't that long ago, less than 10 years ago, the housing market dipped dramatically and this district had to make very hard decisions, and we're cutting staff and eliminating director positions and so on and so forth. That is going to happen again at some point. It would be nice if we were in a better financial position to weather it than we were 10 years ago when that occurred. That's my general take.
No,
Just because
I
you have it
appreciate
doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Correct. I appreciate it. That's why I was asking if again, just opening up the lines of communication. So.
Yep.
Thank you.
I think these are all great points by both you and Director Case. So I think it's smart.
So that's it. Thank you.
Any other comments on the board? No, how about public comment?
Sure, 1 second. Stephen.
Yes, to Chris and everyone else. I don't have a heart attack. When you say that you have ideas, I know each one of you has ideas, and I'd love to hear them. And I think that's the most important thing that you can provide our community is a vision and leadership. And I appreciate what Eric said. Just because we have this money doesn't mean we need to spend it. There are some prudent things we can do to improve our financial position. Let us not forget that we unfortunately are building the most expensive maintenance facility in Marin County history. It's very expensive, and not only was it expensive the first time, then we expanded our ability to get $600,000 or $700,000 more for extra stuff. I know we can find ways to spend this, but let's make sure that we spend it in wise places. And I think once again, I hate to be Johnny One Note, but we need to improve our accessibility in the park. We need a ramp, or not a fancy ramp, just a small ramp for access to our park on Quietwood Drive. We also need some accessible bathrooms near the tennis courts. We don't have enough stalls available for the amount of public use we have in our park. And those are just two small areas. And of course, I would like to see us do bigger and bolder things in our open space. I think that's the one great untapped resource that we have that we can, set a 10-year plan and build something really remarkable. So spend it well. Thanks. Oh, the other thing too, Mary Sackett is fantastic. I'm glad she's helping you out. She's bright as a penny, and she's helped us so much with the cleaning up Marinwood Plaza. And I think she's running for Damon's position, and hopefully, because it's an election year, you can put a little heat, and maybe she'll put a little heat to get us better cell phone coverage this year. So good work, Eric.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, moving on to fire department matters. Item 1, Chief Officer Report and Activity Summary. Go ahead, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you and Happy New Year. Don't have a very deep report for you, but I got a few items I'd like to cover briefly, starting with the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority. Today, as a matter of fact, I sat in as part of the selection committee on the request for proposal, RFP, that was entertained for access and egress, or ingress and egress purposes when it comes to our evacuation study. And so real interesting conversation, 3.5 hour meeting that there's going to be further discussion on probably sometime late next week, so that we can give all of our feedback back to Ann Crelock, who heads up the MWPA, and then she can circle back. Excuse me, she doesn't head up the MWPA. She's heading up this portion of the MWPA. That'll be Director Brown. But she can circle back with the vendor and share our conversation, our comments, our input that we like to see on the value of the evacuation study as it's proposed. And so given that there's going to be a lot more to follow, the MWPA has placed a pretty aggressive timeline of 1 year to have some results. I think the vendor was looking more like a 2-year timeline. May have made sense for them to develop this study and all of the related activities. But the depth and the breadth of it kind of indicates that this is something that could either take place on a phased approach or a launch with a base model and then build on that base model. So one way or another, I think it's still going to land on 1 year, but it's just a question of what model is going to be chosen as the ideal approach to really get some traction on this. So a lot more to follow on this in the days ahead. A lot of technology and data and research and literature that's going to go and factor into that study. So looking forward to seeing this. From what I understand, there's nothing else being done like this within the state. And so we may be able to see the MWPA create some real innovation in Marin County for other agencies and communities to model just in a short period of time, in the next year or two. So given that, I'm also moving into the ops chairperson role this year. I'll be spelling Chief Bill Tyler from Novato, who's had this responsibility since the inception of the MWPA. And I've got some big shoes to fill, so I'm hoping to have some lunch with Bill and talk about some of the deliverables and some of the things he's been involved in over the course of the last 20 months, about 18 months or so, and what his thoughts are on how best I can be effective in that role moving forward. So it will mean I'll have a lot more to share on MWPA related items, most definitely in my report and at any point for that matter. So be looking for more of that as we move forward in the year. I have a photo of North Lucas Valley Fuels Project, a before and after. I didn't get a specific location for this, but I was impressed by the work and how you can see a distinct difference in that area from the before photo on the left to the after photo on the right, with trims being limbed up, surface and ground fuels being removed, cut nearly down the soil. I'm assuming that the rains help produce some of that greenery that we see on the photo on the after. But that being said, this is the kind of work that's being replicated wherever you look in the Marinwood, San Rafael, Marin County area in general. So I'm really excited to see this. I'm hopeful that we're going to see a lot more of this, and this is going to become the norm, not the exception, over the course of the next couple of years as we really start dialing in vegetation and fuel reduction through the use of the MWPA funding and the expertise of some of the staff that are working on these projects. COVID, I'm going to just briefly touch on this. I know this is something that's really getting a lot of attention for any number of reasons, but in short, there's been new guidance released even over the weekend regarding how employees are to be addressed and under what circumstances, if, say, emergency first responders start to reach a critical staffing point, that we can compel people to return back to work despite testing positive or despite only being out for perhaps as little as 5 days. So this is obviously creating some concern at the rank and file level, but it's also creating some concern with the fire chief officers. And we met earlier today to discuss some of our concerns, and there's going to be a little more dialogue about this, and we're going to push the collective questions that we have and then maybe the suggestions that we have back to the county to see if we can make some modifications to the language that was supposed to be implemented effective January 28th. So in short, members that are unvaccinated and members that are vaccinated but have not received their booster will be in the same classification. And if you're eligible to receive the booster and if you're not taking the booster, you'll be in the same classification as unvaccinated individuals. Right now, well, I'll say this, since January 3rd, we've had 8 individuals in the San Rafael Fire Department test positive for COVID. We've had probably 25 or more people be considered direct exposures through close contact. And so gradually out of those 25, we started with 2 individuals, we moved up to 8. So out of those 25, we're seeing a roughly 33% increase in the number of individuals who are once considered close contacts now becoming testing positive and some with symptoms. And so given that, there was also a conversation about staffing, whether or not what will we consider to be a tipping or crisis point where we make some significant adjustments to how we staff. And so that was another conversation that occurred today because some of the agencies, including Novato, are facing significant staffing issues right now. They're down 33% of their staff due to COVID infection. And so we're not quite there. I'm hoping that we're going to be staggering the situation in San Rafael. Unfortunately, in Marinwood, we've been weathering the storm very well. So let's keep our fingers crossed on this as we move forward. But that being said, I'm sure there'll be some more changes to come. And then last but not least, something I learned last night, I just wanted to share. For those that have health insurance, the federal government is now compelling and incentivizing the health insurance providers to provide up to 8 antigen tests, rapid tests, per month to each individual. So with that, and it's at no charge. And so with that, everyone will be entitled to have up to 8 tests provided to them. You can probably purchase them through, or excuse me, obtain them through CVS, Walgreens, Kaiser, et cetera, et cetera. So free tests on the horizon. The question is, how long will it take to get those tests distributed to those locations? But be looking for that. So for those of us who've been spending out of our own pockets up to the tune of $100 or $200 or $300 or several $100s over the course of the last few months, that can be a little bit of relief that you don't have to come out of pocket anymore. Santa Detail 2021. Had a great, beautiful day. Had a chance to get out right before the weather turned really discouraging for any kind of outdoor activity. So we got out on Saturday, December 11th. We had Marinwood Fire Department personnel, District Manager Drykazen and myself, our fire commissioners, Greg Stilson and John Surratt, ran across Director Kilkenny. She was out there that day, and it was just a beautiful time. It was my first event. Last year, we didn't have the event because of the pandemic. So this time I had a chance to see how this operates. I'm looking forward somewhere down the road to seeing and experience our pancake breakfast. And I'm hopeful that Omicron or some other variant doesn't surface around then and create any complications with our ability to do that. But that being said, it was a nice day. I was able to bring my son, my 10-year-old. I think he enjoyed just getting out and being part of the activities and having a chance to experience Marinwood and some of the other personnel at the fire station. We were there at 58 for a little while. And so hopeful that, again, this time next year, we'll be able to do the full thing without the weather, impacting one of our days the way it did this year. Christmas, you got until this Friday, if you have a tree that's drying out, to actually take and dispose of that tree and recycle it for free. And you can do so at the north end of the Marinwood Community Center parking lot, right adjacent to the sandbag area. So we really encourage everyone to jump on it, take advantage of this opportunity over the next 3 days and take your tree. I've got an artificial tree, and I got to be honest, it's been slow moving here. I asked the girls, my daughters, to remove the bulbs. They did about 2/3 of them and left the other third up there for some reason. So I've still got to go and get some work done or ride them to get it done. But
Sounds about right. I don't know. I said it sounds about right with child labor.
Yeah, well, they're 17 and 18. They could have knocked this right out, but they just gave me the nonchalant, lackadaisical, dad'll finish it off program, I guess. I don't know. So anyway, with that, please pass the word along. If you know of anybody that still has their tree just through conversation or whatever, just let them know, hey, you got till Friday to go ahead and recycle it.
Does our garbage not pick them up?
That's a good question.
Do you,
I would assume that they do, but I
They
can't
do
make that
if
assumption.
they do
'cause I
if
don't
you
live in
leave them out.
Marinwood.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
If you leave it out on your garbage day up to the same date, or if you don't want to wait to your garbage day, not only our site, there's a lot of sites throughout Marin where you can bring it and set it there, and they come by 2 or 3 times a week to collect what wind up being fairly large piles of trees in our parking lots from time to time.
What about Hanukkah bushes? Because it's specific. I'm sorry. Sorry.
yeah, I only have a fake Hanukkah bush, so I don't have to put it out on the curb. Like, no.
I don't think there's any discrimination on what kind of tree
Sorry.
gets recycled.
I had to
No,
throw it
no.
in there. I'm sorry.
You can't take a flock tree. That's the only one that they say that
True.
they don't want to accept is the flock tree.
Way to bring it back,
All
Chief.
denominations accepted.
All right. David Catalanoto, who has been the individual who's been instrumental in providing my monthly statistics every month, among many other roles he's filled during the past 5 years working for the San Rafael Fire Department and Marinwood Fire Departments indirectly, has announced his departure. He has been offered a position as Senior Management Analyst in Petaluma Fire Department. So he's going to take that experience that he's gained working on numerous things here in San Rafael, Marinwood, and use that experience to his benefit and to the Petaluma Fire Department's benefit effective January 24th. So his last day will be Friday the 21st. We are going to miss David. He's really been very helpful and has assumed a lot of responsibilities in addition to being the household hazardous waste coordinator. And so, I'm glad for him in so many ways because, this is an opportunity for him to pursue something he really had a strong interest, whether it's analyst type work and other activities. And he's going back to school at the same time. So he's got, and a newborn. So David's got a lot going on in 2022. And we really are excited for him. So that being said, I'll certainly pass along the Marinwood congratulations to him. So
Yes, congratulations and thank you for all the help over the years, especially with the statistics, even with some crazy questions that we've sent him over the years. Maybe
Yeah.
the same question over and over, but we appreciate his humor and dedication to providing us the statistics.
and here's the thing. If you look at this month's stats, our numbers are finally different. I've never seen numbers that were 6 minutes plus. And so I thought to myself, okay, David either did the job right finally on the last submission or something's changed. And so I have to go with something's changed. I know David's been doing the job correctly all along, but I think what's changed that increased our response time by anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds is it's going to be my assumption that this has been weather related. And so given the heavy rains that we had experienced and the consistent wet roads and what have you, I think our personnel have wisely slowed their rate of travel just to ensure that they're being safe on the road. But this 6 minutes and 14 seconds is still an excellent total response time. So I have no qualms about that whatsoever. But I know I've been joking for some time about, seeing the numbers that looked almost identical every month for the longest, as long as I've been here. But that being said, Thomas Wong, who's our senior management analyst that's going to take over the responsibility for David Catalanoto, he's going to provide stats effective next report. So we'll see what his numbers look like. I'm really curious to see how that turns out. But that concludes my report. If there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer what I can.
what is JPA for again?
Joint Powers Authority.
Oh, Thank you.
And now we're gonna use it 5 different times during the rest of the meeting to make sure we drill it in, just like we did the RFP. Sorry.
Yep.
Hey,
And then I'll ask in 6 months.
I was just curious. I noticed that we had 3 hazmat responses in Marinwood this past month. Is there like, were those just little guy? Like, was that like somebody's car battery dripped, or do we have anything that we need to be thinking about?
No, I would assume that there's nothing that we have to really give a lot of pause or concern to. I don't know the specifics on the hazardous materials responses, the 3, but oftentimes they're simple as, paint that's been left on the side of the road as an example, or maybe some oil that's spilled, or even oil that's been left on the side of the road or in some location that it shouldn't be. But every now and then there's an unknown substance where somebody will phone it in because it's an unusual color, and maybe it's, going down the side of the road and somebody, looks at a fluorescent green substance in a waterway or something like that. And that's where you really want to start to be concerned. But I wasn't advised of any major incident or anything that should be attention or provide any level of real interest and or concern. So if I do hear of anything, I'll circle back. In fact, I can check with David before he leaves just to find out what did we actually have. It could be fluorescent light bulbs that were, discarded or something else. It's any number of things that they consider to be hazardous. So you got corrosives, you got, electrical, you got just a variety of things. And so it could be almost anything. He didn't give me any specifics on those 3, but I'll find out.
Oops. Great. Thank you so much.
And a service call, is that just like lighting a pilot light?
That can range from something as simple as that to, you had a CO detector or something that may have activated. It could be
Okay.
someone who needs some sort of medical assistance, or just a citizen assist, as we call it, or a lift assist, someone who's, maybe got some ambulatory challenges that couldn't reach something. I mean, it could be a variety of things for a service call.
Somebody who's fallen who can't get up?
That could be just a service call. Most often, though, that might be a medical, that might be an EMS call, depending on if the person injured themselves when they fell. Yeah.
So does that include like the nursing homes that we had previously talked about having you guys, when they were so short with personnel, had you guys coming in to help put people back in bed and in wheelchairs if they couldn't do that? Is that considered?
That is more along the lines of a service call or a medical assist.
Okay.
Absolutely. Again, it's not something that you would really, okay, let's go with the old cat in a tree. That's one, right? That's an example of something that is just a service call.
Nice.
But the true medical assist would be something along the lines where the question was, someone fell and doesn't have a true medical emergency, but needs some assistance of some sort, just, picking up something or resetting something, or even helping them back into their wheelchair as an example, or any number of, subtle, small things that aren't really true emergencies. But important nonetheless, because they're helpful.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your report. And again,
Absolutely.
Don, for coming to partake in our Santa Day.
Oh yeah, will do. Will do.
It's always fun.
Thanks, Chief.
I have.
Any questions from the public or comments?
Yes, 1 second. Steven.
Yes, thanks, Chief. Appreciate the report. Particularly, I like those pictures of the fuels project. That really helps me understand what's going on out there. And so thank you very much for that. I do have a couple questions. First of all, you've been reporting on the COVID-19 response, and I'm just a little, and I appreciate what you do, you're reporting on it, but I'm a little confused. Are you in some, I assume you are reporting what the stuff that you've heard from Dr. Matt Willis. Is that correct? I mean, you're not in any way, shape, or form direct in the line of responsibility as far as managing the public safety response or the health response. Is that correct?
I can say that as fire chief, we're directly responsible in each agency for ensuring that our personnel are operating safely and in accord with California Department of Public Health guidelines, CDC guidelines, and
Okay.
county health and county EMS guidelines. And so to that point, we have to remain abreast of what's taking place because there's been a shift and an ongoing shift in how members who are unvaccinated, as an example, are treated in the workplace. And so we're
For your own agency. I'm sorry to cut you
yes,
off
yes.
like that. Okay, I just wanted a little bit of clarity on that. Okay, and the other thing too, you know, we did have that major wildfire area, and I also appreciate knowing that you know, we're emphasizing evacuation and that sort of thing. I hope, I've requested this in the past, I hope that your department or some department in whether it's a wildfire agency or whatever, has some sort of public forum that, you know, bringing people together to discuss specifically, you know, the appropriate emergency response and, you know, just inform the public a little bit more. We really should take advantage of the big event that we had to educate the public and improve safety. I don't know how dangerous our valley is. I know we don't have a lot of vegetation on half of it, which is good because I don't think we'll be swept over like it happened up in Santa Rosa, but you know, maybe there's still some concerns. And we want to know what those concerns are and really understand the amount of dangers that we face as a community.
I can share that there's a lot of information being provided to members, whether it be on the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority's website, whether it be on Fire Safe Marin's website, whether it be on some of the FireWise community and neighborhood association content that's out there. But in summary, I think the most impressive things that we can do right now are addressing what happens around our own immediate vicinity, our own properties. The house outward approach is what we've been communicating consistently throughout the county right now, so that everyone is taking care of their property outwards to 100 feet and beyond if you have more than 100 feet extending to your neighbors or to an adjacent open space area or something else. And so that would be the first thing I would really emphasize that we need to continue to work on, so that if something does occur, let's say a fast moving fire happens somewhere, everyone is not going to have to necessarily evacuate because they've got protective measures already in place around their properties. And a prime example that you could see where this was effective was the fire that occurred in Santa Rosa last year, where you saw the before and after, the year before last, where you saw the incident where there were photos of areas that had been cleared of vegetation very effectively, and that there were areas that were not, and those areas that were not actually were impacted by the fire. And so, and I'm referring to specifically residential private homes. And so that is a prime example of why we're really pushing hard for the house outward approach. But collectively as a county, as you know, there are a lot of fuels, there's a lot of effort underway to see and prioritize areas where they believe the biggest threat or the highest priority focus needs to be. And I think we've been doing a pretty good job of doing that. And so specifically for Marinwood, our staff will continue to get out and identify projects that we think will continue to reduce the risk. But first and foremost, I just have to encourage you to follow the house outward approach and, you know, make yourself familiar with some of those various websites and the content that's on there so you can understand the greater lift that's taking place right now.
Chief, on that, I just wanted to follow up and say that I've certainly noticed another handful of properties with large scale juniper removals. And I know that the AmeriCorps teams have helped with that, and that the funding through that, I believe, has come through the MWPA core funding, which has been great. So that doesn't actually affect a lot of our local funding too, but just the work and the coordination, everything's really looking good. And we've received a lot of good comments on that. So thank you again for all their leadership too.
Absolutely. I'll share that.
And another thing is, I actually walked the trail that they did the vegetation management on that you have photos of earlier in your report. I've walked that trail a number of times. It was really impressive. You could even see as I walked all the way out west and beyond our community, you could definitely see the difference for where there had been time put in to remove that vegetation and limb those trees versus spots further out that weren't. It was really nice.
Right. No, that's great to hear. And then again, the goal is to continue to build on that progress. So, as more funding comes available every year, we'll continue to do the work. And at some point, the goal is just to maintain, not to try to seek out new projects, but to just maintain the work that we've already, completed. And so that's the huge lift that we're, in the process of making right now.
Well, again, thank you, Chief White, for your report and all the other information that you shared with us tonight. Moving on to park and recreation matters. Mr. Fetwell.
Thank you, Lisa. Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you. We'll start just giving a little bit of a recap on some of the things that have been going on in the recreation department this past month or since we last met. Bill, I was able to look it up, but yeah, we purchased 6 canopies. That's what that was in the calendar.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Where did we purchase those from? That's a really good price.
Amazon. We use those for summer camps. We use them for the pool. We use those for a lot of our special events, and so those are kind of an on. That particular purchase was when we put on our all outdoor Halloween Harvest Fest, usually, which is an indoor event. We did purchase a few more of those to beef up our supply to be able to have everything be outdoors and all of our booths be sort of protected a little bit. So anyway, right after we last met, we did have our annual winter event, holiday event here at the community center. This year was our first time doing a winter outdoor concert, which we called Jingle Bell Jazz. Most years that event would have been our indoor Winterfest kind of open house games and activities and arts and crafts for the kids. This year with the COVID situation, we did not want to try to have a bunch of people in a room together and tried to provide a COVID-friendly event we could still put on. Thankfully, the weather cooperated and we were able to follow through with our outdoor concert. Again, it was our first time doing something like this at this time of the year, and it ended up being a really wonderful event. There was a couple comments about the band earlier in the meeting, and just that's a band that has provided the musical accompaniment to this Winterfest concert several years before. And it is a group of local musicians, some of whom are dads from the neighborhood, and they're actually world-class jazz musicians, and we're getting them for a steal. They're doing a huge favor coming in, and this is one of their kind of special holiday events that they love to do, and we're really fortunate to be able to have them. So this year I was really excited to be able to feature the band as opposed to have them be kind of in the background inside the event, and they really delivered, and it was a wonderful concert. And even so, it was freezing cold. We had the heat lamps out, we had the fire pit out, and everyone thankfully dressed warm, and we had a really, really amazing turnout for that. And so we were really excited that this, people braved the cold and the weather and a kind of a new thing, and they came out. We also had we kept the pictures with Santa And we had a wonderful Santa Claus this year, and that went really well as well. So I was very proud of staff. They pulled this together without really a template and made the community center and the park look amazing. There were so many lights. We had to utilize practically every outlet in the facility to make that happen. And it went really well, and it was a wonderful event. So we'll definitely keep that on our radar for the future to mix things up. It is a very weather dependent event, so we'll have to always pay attention to that. But so that went great, and we're really excited about that. The other things that went on since we last met in December, we did have our Letters to Santa program that we just started last year as sort of a stand-in since we couldn't do much during the lockdown. And we decided to continue it this year. And we had more than double the letters to Santa. And that's just a fun thing to be able to do in the community. We had about 85 kids write letters to Santa. And they all made it and got responses. And a big thanks to Carolyn for helping facilitate that. We ran our normal winter break camp for the 2 weeks the kids were off of school, the last 2 weeks of the year. That's always a really popular camp. It's a special thing that we're able to do. It's our one of 3 camps we do each year. We do obviously our big summer camp program. We do a spring break, and actually we do 4: a winter break and a midwinter break. And we're really fortunate that we have so many great staff during the summer that when they're back on their breaks, we are able to employ them for the winter break camp, and really put on sort of a small version of our summer camp during those weeks. And so they're getting a lot of really high quality arts and crafts and activities, and really good staff that are able to kind of step in and do that. And Robin is very savvy during those weeks, and she always takes the opportunity to make sure she's touching base with people about this upcoming season. She conducts interviews while people are home on break, and also tries out some people in a little bit of a higher position during this winter break camp when we have smaller groups and a lot of oversight, to kind of see if some of the staff have what it takes to step up and take on more of the director and supervisor roles. So it's a wonderful time to kind of prep for summer, in addition to providing a great childcare program. So that was a great program. The weather gave us at least a handful of days outside, and we're really happy about that. Upcoming, our next big event is going to be our Raise a Glass winter wine tasting. It's a little later this year. It's the first Saturday in March from 2 to 5. And we skipped it last year, but this will be our 11th annual Raise a Glass winter wine tasting. It's a fantastic event. It's a little different from our other events. We get a lot of great wineries, mostly from Sonoma, some from Napa, and some from a couple other places. We'll have around 12 to 15 wineries pouring wine, and a lot of times the winemakers will come out and they'll chat it up, and it's a great time to get to know about the winemaking process, and people sign up for wine clubs, and we have a lot of wine lovers in town, and this is a great time for them to connect with some of the local wineries just up the road. We do have live music at this event. We have some refreshments and food, and it's just a really nice time. So we're excited to be resuming that, and we're looking forward to that. Hope you're all able to make it for that. Again, it's March 5th, 2 to 5, coming up, Raise a Glass. And beyond that, we have our spring art show coming up in April, and then we'll have more events to announce in the coming weeks and months. The staff is hard at work getting the final touches on our Marinwood review, our spring summer catalog, which will list everything we're offering for the spring and summer. We've got it's a big return to normal. Not everything will be exactly what it was before the pandemic, but we're getting as close as we can. We're really excited for what's in store for the coming season. So keep an eye out for that. It should be out in the next few weeks. We'll have it online first, and then it'll come out in print and be delivered to everyone's doorstep or mailbox, I guess, shortly after that. And we'll be opening up registration for most of our summer programs in the second week of March. So we'll have all that. Most of that's on the website already, but we'll be announcing more details in the coming months. Switching over to parks maintenance, the big project this last month, which was a little bit unprecedented for us, but we went all in on the creek, and a mixture of this last really bad drought, and then now the heavy rains and the really wet winter we've had has really accelerated some of the erosion we've been witnessing in the creek over the years. And there's some couple spots that have been problematic and gotten a lot worse. And so trying to take a proactive approach and see what can we do to mitigate this, and what can we do to preserve our park and community center property that's getting closer and closer to the creek as it erodes. We brought out some professionals to give us some guidance and direction. And I've had staff out in the creek several days, many days a week this past month, doing a lot of strategic plantings along the creek bank, and mostly willow shoots, stakes, and other mostly willow tree branches. And willows are really unique in that they have special buds on them that will sprout roots if planted. And some other trees do that too, but willows are specifically geared towards being able to grow new trees from cutting branches. And so staff cut a lot of willow branches from around the creek, and we've been out there planting. We planted over 100 new trees, or future trees, I guess you could call them, in this past few weeks. And December is the month when willows work on their roots, and that's the time to try to get as many plantings done. You can still plant beyond that, and we will continue the effort, but we tried to get as much done in December, which is, I guess, the magic month for that, in a few areas along the creek that we want to try to really protect. There's a number of other plantings and other measures that we'll be taking as well throughout the spring and on through the year and continuing. But this was our big attempt to try to shore up some of the areas we've been a little bit concerned about. And I really just want to thank Marco and Estevan, and I've even recruited John Paul from the rec side to help us out there. Getting out in the rain, in the cold, getting up to about here in the hip waders in some of the spots in the creek, and trying to get as much of that done while we could, and not waiting for a nice weather day, but just getting out there, rain or shine. And so they did an amazing effort, and we came back muddy and cold and soaked to the bone, but we've gotten a lot of work done. So I'll be updating the board as we watch. We're not sure how well it's going to go. A lot of conditions, a lot of things play into how well these plants will take root. We're under the best conditions, you can expect around 70 to 80% to take off and survive. So we'll see what happens, and we'll continue that and make that a regular practice. So that's taken up a lot of staff time, and we definitely put all of our focus on that. And admittedly, we're playing a little bit of catch up now. And so we're getting back on track, but that's been a big part of our month. Plenty of other projects coming up in the next weeks and months with the staff. They've done a lot of maintenance and checking on the drains, the roof, the downspouts, everything weather related. It's been a big rain season, and it's taken a toll on all of our infrastructure and just making sure everything is flowing well. And currently everything is doing great in terms of the drains, the culverts, and the V ditches are all clear and flowing. But that takes a lot of constant checking and maintenance and effort. Upcoming projects that I'll be talking about. There will be a lot of work done at the pool, getting ready for the 2022 pool season, which will be opening up for the swim team in March and to the general public in April. So there'll be a lot of just checking all the equipment, making some small repairs, getting everything up in working order, and doing some painting and some other things to get the place looking its best for opening. And we also have some nice having all the water, but once the rain stops, we'll have to get things irrigated again. And there are a few irrigation repairs and some redesigns we're going to be doing in the park for that. So staff's working on plans for that, and amongst other things. So I'll stop there, but please do let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Luke. Any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question, only to add more work to Chris. Is the Park and Rec part of the conversations when you met with Marin Resource Conservation? Or did you guys meet them on their own? And is that something that Park and Rec kind of involve in the long-term project or not?
No, as far as I mean the commission, is that you're referring to the Parks and Rec Commission? No, we, Eric and I met with Sarah Phillips from that organization, and I've met with John Pardoni and a couple other people from the straw program before. And those were just, they came out and walked the creek with us and gave us and then sent us a bunch of resources and guidance on what to do. And that's one of those things that definitely we'll be updating and talking about at the commission level for sure, and having that discussion. But this was one of those things that I knew was very time sensitive for the weather that we're having and the window to building some things. So we were trying to just make a jump on this and get some direction so we can move forward. But we'll definitely be part of that discussion moving forward as well.
Thank you. And please send our thanks to the guys for wading through the creek in the cold water to get this done. We really appreciate it.
I definitely will. Pass them.
I second that. I was gonna mention that too, because I been in the creek with the girls for like moments and I was just like, not for me. So I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And Eric, don't worry, I marked my calendar for March 5th.
Oh, I wasn't worried.
Is there, I don't know if we have any progress on the trail that we've been kind of talking about, the one, the one that's supposed to be built by the land developer?
I'll let Eric speak to that.
Yeah, we literally just got a draft of his initial report last night. I haven't really had a chance to go through it. I know Commissioner John Campo, who also works as a senior resource planner for open space, was involved in kind of working with the vendor on that. We're going to sit down with him and it'll come up at the PNR meeting, Chris. Yeah. And then I also want to follow up on Luke. I really appreciate and admire how he highlights and calls out the park staff as well as John Paul for what is very uncomfortable, cold work. But Luke needs to get called out as well. He has spent as much, if not more time than anybody else in the water, planting shoots. I mean, I'm going home at night and I see him out there doing things and I'm like, okay, Luke, it's cold. Please come in, warm up, but he's out there tirelessly in the water and getting all of the work done. So kudos to Luke as well. He's leading by example in that, and certainly not just delegating uncomfortable jobs off. He is in there as much, if not more than anybody. So thank you, Luke.
No, thanks. Appreciate that, Eric.
Thank you. And thank Robin and everyone else too for all they do, not just the guys.
Absolutely.
My kids loved winter camp, by the way. So another plug for that, another successful camp season from our perspective. So thank you for that.
No, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah. Any comments from the public?
Yeah, 1 second. Steven.
Thanks, Luke, for the report. Just sounds like things are going well. I do want to make a few comments though. The types of events that we have, I would classify in basically 2 categories. One, something for the kids, some holiday event for the kids, and the other is something for the adults, kind of where they can drink and listen to music. And I just think, with 2, we're missing out on things. I really don't approve of the amount of drinking events that we have in our community center. It's kind of way too much, and adding the get-togethers in the park that feature a lot of alcohol. We have a ton of alcohol consumption in our park, and it's not really what the park is for. I would ask that you think of different events, I guess what I would call maybe more wholesome events, where they could be family oriented, that are do not revolve around drinking. Could be like a tennis tournament, or family Olympics, or you know, things that would involve the family. Of course, there's really very little outreach to our senior community. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that. We do have seniors in our community, and doesn't seem to be much acknowledgement of that fact, but they like doing stuff like playing pickleball, which has been ignored by the rec department. And I just think that while I like what our rec department does, I think they need to broaden it and de-emphasize the drinking. I know it brings money in, but you know, there's more to life than just drinking and making money. With regards to the creek maintenance, that sort of thing, that's great. I'm glad we're doing that. The trails still need work. I have seen very little work on the trails on the dog leg area that could be tidied up and made much nicer. And I just don't see much vision as far as our open space goes. And I would like to see more of that from our Parks Department. That's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you, Stephen. Any other comments or questions from the public?
No.
No. All right. Moving on to board member items of interest, requests for future agenda items. Do we have any of those?
Just an update on the RFP process for the rest of the space, outdoor space for the maintenance facility, and any updates with regards to summer plans and stuff with COVID regulations and pool, and how the communities can be able to use the pool and various things this year.
Very good. Well, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
You need to take a public comment on this first, Lisa, unfortunately.
Oh, I do. Sorry.
Yeah,
Excuse
and
me.
then just really quickly, a couple of things I wanted to add, because I told them I would. This really doesn't have anything to do with our jurisdiction, but it has a little bit to do with our neighborhood. The county and the housing element feature is they are working on for the housing element for unincorporated Marin County. They are having a couple of presentations coming up, one all via Zoom. One's going to be on January 20th. This is a countywide, and another one on February 10th. That's going to really be focused on Lucas Valley, Marinwood. Again, this district does not have any jurisdiction and certainly not can issue a formal opinion on housing element. But I told them I would help share the word. So we'll share out via our social media on with some materials that the county has produced and make it very clear that we're sharing this on behalf of the county.
And what is the sandwich board that's in front? I am not able to actually walk back there because I drive by it. There's a sandwich board about a meeting, a North Gate.
Yeah, I saw that too. There was one on both sides. I actually, today was the only day I saw it. I'm assuming that's about the development of the Northgate Center. So that's a Santa Fe issue.
Okay, but it's January 11th and we have no jurisdiction and it's over Zoom.
Well, that would be today,
Yeah.
and it's probably over by now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have no, and even on the housing element, that's outside of our subject matter. I'm just sharing something from a colleague agency, basically with the county. And if and when they do have a solid plan for Lucas Valley, the only take that the district would have would be any potential impacts on the services that we do provide and have jurisdiction over, and that would be it.
Okay.
So you said January 20th, February 10th.
Yep.
But February 10th is more Lucas Valley Marinwood, or
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. It's
Okay.
kind of their
focus point?
preliminary plans and proposals for this part of the unincorporated county.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll push some stuff out via social media on it. I'm just waiting for them to get it to me.
Can you email it to me as well?
Yeah.
Just in case I miss it on social media. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it too.
Send it to everybody.
Yep, I can. But again, and
Except for Bill.
you're encouraged to attend, but you're attending as a citizen of Marinwood Lucas Valley, not as a representative of the district. My legal,
So-
our attorney would be very proud of me for telling you that.
I will be on my best behavior.
I don't care how you
Understood.
behave as long as they don't know you're part of us. All right, anyway, I'm sorry, Lisa, public comment.
Public comment.
Okay, Stephen.
Yes, board members take note. The housing element is really quite important for Lucas Valley and Marinwood. The last housing element identified, I think about 1,200 living units in our neighborhood. They're basically large apartment buildings. And the county, because of the change in housing laws, they actually have to build or see to it that apartments are built in unincorporated Marin. And I'm expecting most all of the housing to come to Marinwood Lucas Valley. It literally could double or triple our population. I know that sounds amazing to you, but it really is true. The housing laws are crazy, and all we can hope for is something will happen where we don't have this just incredible growth in our neighborhoods. Obviously, that's going to affect the operation of Marinwood CSD, and it may actually lead to the changing of our political boundaries in Marinwood. Maybe we would become part of San Rafael. I don't know. It's a big issue. In other words, it does require leadership, a voice from the community, and we need to understand what's going on, and let them know that we're paying attention. And because the communities that ignore this are the ones that unfortunately get stuck with all the bad development. And we of course we want some development, but we want appropriate development. We don't want to be stuck with all the growth. I don't know where we're going to put it, but there's big things on the books right now. So that's all I have to say. And so actually what I would like to say about future meetings is that, yes, discuss a vision. And actually, one of the visions should be, if we grow as a community, how will we want to grow? How will we want to grow the Marinwood CSD? What additional services might we want to offer or not offer? This is a time of great change.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, now can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a
Kathleen
second.
raised her hand to second.
Second.
Right. Call for a vote.
Board President Ruggieri,
Aye.
Director Case,
Aye.
Director Kilkenny,
Aye.
Director Oiserman,
Aye.
and Director Shea.
Aye.
Thank you.
Lisa, thank you for a great first
Thanks,
meeting
everyone.
as your term of president.
Thank you.
You
Great
marched us
job,
along very
Lisa.
well. Thank you very much.
Round of
Thank you.
applause.
Thank you,
Thank
Madam
you, thank you.
President.
Thank you, Madam President.
Well, thank you for the guidance, because I'm going to be fumbling for a while. So
No way.
appreciate everyone's patience.
Did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank
See you
you,
guys
sir.
later.
All right, see you
Bye.
guys
Thank you,
later. Have a
everyone.
good